Hey Kevin, what are we doing today?
All right, we're going to do our third video on egg-bound snakes. So basically, I'm trying to break down some of the procedures that I do. A lot of this stuff I kind of came up with through trial and error, but I've been breeding snakes for a long time. So some of the stuff works, and I've made mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes, and I try to learn from my mistakes and then try to move forward and actually take techniques that work in a breeding situation or a reptile hobbyist situation. So we're going to go over today, we're going to work further on a blood python that I was doing a little bit of some work with. She had some eggs in her. She had about 3 rotted eggs I was able to actually get out of her, and now I've put her into a soak. I've made sure that she's very well hydrated, cleaned her up a bit, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to address some of the antibiotic needs that she has, and then we're going to see if we can manipulate those eggs or see where she's at. So we're going to start from there. All right, we're going to go over a little bit. Basically, doing these procedures or things like this with our snakes, we always have to worry about infections. So that's basically opportunistic bacteria, basically overwhelming the animal's immune response. If the animal's not feeling well and is suffering some kind of problem, basically we want to give them a little bit of help. So I work with a vet, so I have access to antibiotics and stuff like that as I need. So in this case, we're going to use Amikacin. We weighed out the animal. This is a very effective, kind of heavy-duty antibiotic. It's a little bit old school, but it's actually great. And this is very good against many gram-negative bacteria. And because we're dealing with reptiles, gram-negative bacteria is definitely things of concern. So we weigh the animal. We're going to do a little bit of math.
You weigh it first?
Yep. Yeah, so that's 19 pounds. I want to convert it to kilograms, so I'm going to divide by 2.2, and I'm going to get it to 8.6 kilograms because I know my amikacin doses would be 5 milligram per kilogram. So I break it down, I have 8.6 kilograms, multiply it by the 5, and I get that number. Now, I need to basically, this is my loading dose. My loading dose is 5 milligram per kilogram. So that's the first dose. So I take this and I divide it by the concentration per ml. There's 50 milligrams per ml or per cc. And I come out with my dose of 0.86 cc's. This is liquid. So basically this is injectable, so it's sterile. You want to treat your container with alcohol, and you want to make sure you're clean. If I take any kind of pathogens or whatnot on top of this and I inject it in the animal, I could be creating problems. So the first dose on this essentially 19 pound animal will be 0.86 cc's, and then 72 hours later I'm going to treat this animal with a half a dose. So when we call it a loading dose, the loading dose means we inject the animal the first third of the body, intramuscular. So we want to get it into the muscle of the animal, and then we want that to course through all the animal. I give it to the injection towards the head because I don't want the kidneys to filter it out. So if I gave it down by the kidneys will grab a lot of that antibiotic. This is an aminoglide, so that means it attacks the renal system in animals that are dehydrated. I actually went over this on the previous video, but I'm trying to give people a little bit more specifics. And so we're injecting by the dorsal area into one or the other side where the muscle is, where there's some flesh, and we're going to give the animal an injection, and that way we're at least going to give this animal a good fighting chance to deal with what's going on. Now we still have the problem where we actually have the eggs inside the animal, so we're now going to try to manage that.
Why are we putting the snake in the bag, or the head in the bag?
We're going to put the snake in the bag because we're going to try to reduce as much stress to the animal as possible, and the head bites. So we could grab the animal behind its head. But what happens when we do that? I need that bin because it's going to get messy. When I do that, the animal will often twist and death roll. So this is, obviously we're just taking a little bit lesser evil. So my hands are clean now, so chlorhexidine or something like that works great. Once again, I'm going to go. Dan's having a fight. The blood pythons are incredibly strong. And this animal's been very hydrated and soaked, so she's clearly a little bit upset. So I just want to find out where we're at with these eggs. So I'm looking for the oviduct opening, which is inside the animal towards the spine. And I have to find the opening. If I just go in here and I'm feeling around the egg and I'm unable to locate the opening, basically I'm going to start dealing with the sheath of the oviduct which wraps around the egg, and that is vasculated, so that has lots of blood vessels all over it. So if I perforate through there, I likely am going to tear this sheath. I'm going to tear the blood vessels, and in some cases you have to do something like that. But I can get my finger right in here and I can feel this egg is trying to adhere to the lining of the oviduct. So it might look to people that don't, really, that they're not here. What I'm doing is it's not all that invasive just yet. So I got this egg, and the egg is like really rubbery, and it's almost like a pickled egg, I guess, if you're one of those people that eat pickled eggs. Okay, so I'm having a lot of urates and urea. Essentially what we're doing, you try to be as clean as you can, but certainly we're not sterile, and we don't really have any blood at this moment, stuff like that. So we're just kind of practice some just basic good husbandry practices. So we're using things like chlorhexidine, and this is dilute chlorhexidine. But if I use any kind of implement or whatever, you kind of want to keep that clean. The worst case scenario is if you do something like this and you don't know what you're doing. This is taken me quite a while to kind of get to this point. And if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. So I got to get back to the opening of the oviduct. Get ready to ride. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to separate the egg from the oviduct, and if I don't do this, this egg is poisoning her. Sometimes if you got strong fingers, here we go. That's a gnarly egg. So remember guys, the egg will poison her. If the animal isn't egg bound, she'll often be able to push the eggs out on their own. But if things get twisted, and like I said before, we don't know exactly what the problem is, but the other day when I was working on this, I could not locate the opening of the oviduct, and I wanted to give this animal a chance to kind of collect herself, make sure she's well hydrated. And I also wanted to collect myself too, because if I go and force my way through a situation, I can make a very rash mistake. Now we're working on the next egg. What's going to happen is if I can get all these eggs out, we're going to basically get this animal in a pretty good situation. I'm going to see that's urates. They tend to be, with blood pythons, very granule, and they actually can perforate and tear things if you're not careful. That's why I keep removing them, because they're like little bits of grit. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm good. Just trying to get it from going in the bag.
So this egg that I'm feeling now feels, this is a smaller egg. This stuff right here, chlorhexidine, and we're just going to use an irrigation syringe without a needle, and we're just going to basically, I want to flush her out a little bit. So this is simple. Hey, sweetie. So let me tell you a couple things. When you're messing with the butt of your python, you can perforate her bowel. You can perforate any of this stuff, and that is a nasty thing to recover from. The infection is dreadful because we're dealing with lower GI bacteria and microbes. So I'm just trying to, I want to just get a little bit of this material out. And so one thing, if you brought this to a vet, they might knock this animal out. And when you knock the animal out, you're basically going to be able to have a lot more privileges with the animal. You're not going to have the animal doing a lot of things. Well, every time you knock out a snake, you're also taking the chance you can also kill the snake. Sometimes they don't recover. And so that can be a little bit of a tricky process. And it's certainly expensive. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking to find the opening of the oviduct. So if this egg is out of order, I will not be able to find the opening. So this is what Donny calls the boring part.
It's not boring as much as I don't understand what's going on, so it's boring to me.
So I'm trying to get this egg to the very end of the oviduct and then get my finger in there and I feel for the surface of the egg. And then, like I just found it. That was just like that. All right. It's very small. Okay, so you basically got to get your finger in there. And I just keep searching around to where I think it is. All right. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to, as I'm putting my finger in there, I'm going to move around the egg because once again the egg gets kind of granulated and it adheres and sticks to the oviduct lining. Okay, now so this is where you can, right here, if I just go, oh, I'll just push it. No. You really, so I'm looking at the opening right there, and then I'm looking at this nasty, nasty egg. Sometimes you have to back off so I can get my finger inside there. It's very easy to lose it. Yeah, so see, you gotta find that poor thing. Okay. Donny, boring part.
Yeah, you're fine, man.
Okay.
Do your thing.
So sometimes you'll lose the opening, so you have to kind of let it go back in. Found the opening. All right, making some progress. There we go. So some people, this may look really gnarly. It's not really gnarly to me because I've experienced it. And
is this a fairly common thing that happens here, or is this just very rare?
No, this is pretty uncommon. Okay, so right here. So now, what's happening is that I have to kind of get this big egg, and I still think, yeah, it's adhered. So I'm using my other finger inside, going around it. Once I get what makes it adhere to let go, it's not so bad. So if something like this, I might want to take a set of forceps. There we go. Once again, you don't see blood. Blood is what we want to kind of avoid whenever possible. Wow, this one's really gnarly. Well, you guys are there we go. Slow, a little push with my thumb. That was a doozy. So, you want to clean this up for a sec?
Sure. Yikes.
Yep. Well, just think about this, Donny. You'll be the only guy with.
I am not going to eat my lunch while editing this video.
I'm glad I ate beforehand.
What?
I said I'm glad I ate beforehand.
This doesn't faze me one bit.
I know it doesn't.
I've done everything.
Are you doing probably pretty much what a veterinarian would be doing right now, or
Yeah,
like,
I was at one point. I wanted to be a veterinarian.
people asked you that in the comments.
Yeah, I wanted to be, but my problem is I have too much empathy, and putting to sleep people's pets and dealing with animals that get run over by cars would hurt me too much, and so I decided not to do that. So
What college degree do you have?
I have computers and electronics degrees for that.
Man.
Yeah. Computers don't die, essentially. Okay, so let's see. Onward. So we're gonna flush her out. So as we're doing this, we're gonna get some of the material from her GI tract too, as it's pushing down. That she was really blocked up big time. So just we keep kind of cleaning it. So right here, okay, so this is from the GI tract. So we just get rid of that quick. So that's just a little bit of material that's probably been in her for a long time, because pregnant snakes generally don't, pythons don't eat. So that could have been there for a long time. She's gonna push against me and bite my ass.
Sure, you got me in the stomach. I didn't say anything though.
Yeah.
My man.
Okay. Okay, so now, oof, God, that's just a gnarly, wow. Okay, here we go. This thing. Now we got this, what is that? Okay, so what we have, this is essentially, basically, that's our GI tract. Okay, so we needed that out of the way though. Okay, we're trying to, we're getting all sorts of treasures. Not really.
You're eliminating all that so it doesn't pollute the water, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's, if we can, I wanna basically get it out. How long before she bites me in the butt? Okay, so let's see. We're doing pretty, that egg feels, okay. So, this might be a place where I stop again. And the reason why we've achieved a lot, we've got out some really nasty stuff, and she might be able to sort out the last little bit, but we'll come back to this. I just know that if I keep pushing stuff down, I feel multiples, and I might have released one of these eggs that was the real problem. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna give her a shot. Something on here, just considering what I just did. Okay, so first third of the body, that's the muscle, the dorsal, the muscle. What we're gonna do is go underneath the scales. We've already drawn that out. So I'm gonna go between the scales. That's it. That is our dose, and she'll get another dose in 3 days. So now she goes back on water, we keep her clean, keep her kind of quiet, and we see what goes on. So there'll be another video to this.